Hi, welcome to Game Creation, and this is going to be the video we really get started. I wanted to do a few videos just to set the narrative about what HTML, CSS, JavaScript are. However, after today's video, we're not going to be using CSS anymore, pretty much. I don't think at all. And we're not really going to be using HTML. It's all going to be JavaScript. And you'll kind of see why in a second. The technology we're using is going to be going to be Canvas, and Canvas ignores all CSS, HTML. It's its own little bubble, and a canvas is basically a rectangle on the screen. If you do any game websites like Newgrounds or anything like that, you'll notice they're all in a rectangle. In fact, ClickTeam, when you create a game, creates it in a canvas, and a canvas is just self-contained, has all of its properties dealt with or created or designed or changed in JavaScript. So it's not interested in the HTML or CSS going on the page, which is really good and really annoying at the same time. But anyway, we'll go into that. So at the end of this video, I want to draw a line on the screen, which doesn't sound very exciting, but we're going to do it anyway. Everyone has to start somewhere. So let's get started. It's going to be a long video, so let's get started. So we're kind of not interested in the hello world anymore, and let's just get going straight away. So the first thing we need to do is create the canvas element. And this is going to be just the word canvas, and we're going to close it. Now, you'd think that we would do stuff between this, but get a better browser is all I'm going to write there, and spell browser wrong because, you know, life. Now, the reason for that is this is only shown if the user doesn't have a browser that supports Canvas. The only browsers that don't support Canvas are on computers that should be in landfill. I mean, we're talking decades old. Canvas is part of the HTML5 spec, which has been around for at least a decade. So you can reliably now assume that people have Canvas, thankfully. Okay, so we want to add some parameters to the canvas element. What do we need to tell the computer? Well, we need to tell it the width of the canvas, which I'm going to say is 500. And you do that by saying width equals quote 500. That's 500 pixels. Go call it the height. I'm really bad at typing today. Right, height equals, and we'll say, I don't know, 300. Making this up. Okay. Now we do need to actually tell it what pixel width we want it to be. So obviously 500 pixels. You can make it different. It doesn't have to be 500 pixels, but it will distort and it will look weird. Or potentially. Probably won't actually, probably be fine. Modern high quality screens. And we're going to put background color on it just so we can see where the... we could just put border. Let's put a border on it. Border is better. What do we do? 1 pixel, solid black. Okay, what have I done? Well, with a canvas, that's essentially a canvas is like the frame on ClickTeam. Okay, so everything's done within the canvas here. And this is just the frame width and frame height. Now, you know with ClickTeam, even though your frame width is 500 and your height is 300, it doesn't have to be that way, because if you muck about with the settings, you can stretch it out and all this stuff. And this is what this bit does, is it will stretch it out. Well, we don't want it to stretch it out or anything, so we're just keeping it the same. And what this does is it puts a border around it. You specify the thickness of the border in pixels, whether you want like cool dashes on it. I don't. I always pick solid, and then the color of the border. That simple. Okay. So if I save that now, and I go through here, bye-bye hello world, and hello canvas. Look at that beautiful canvas. That is pretty darn amazing, isn't it? What a wonderful canvas. Now we want to do something with the canvas, and this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So right at the bottom of the page, you can do this anywhere. We're going to add our JavaScript. Essentially, if you do it at the top of the page, it will do it straight away, which is great. But it won't load the page until it's done it all, which is not so good, because you want your users to see something. Anyway, with modern computers, you need to be, I don't know, You probably will need to be writing a lot of code before it slows the page down anyway. Right, what have I just done? Script tags. This is where our JavaScript lives. This is like our JavaScript domain. Okay, now you'd think, oh, hang on, how does it know it's JavaScript? It could be any kind of script. Unfortunately, or fortunately, JavaScript has won the war of one. Okay, there was only one entrant pretty much, or SMA, whatever. And it is now the only thing out there. You used to have to assign what script it was. You do like /JavaScript, whatever here. You don't need to anymore. Every browser will assume it's JavaScript because JavaScript is used by everyone. Okay, so you don't need to do that anymore. So we'll just leave it as it is. Okay, let's start some coding. Now, I'm going to explain what I'm doing straight away, but just know that these first 2 lines, you'll just go copy and paste into every project you do with Canvas. Okay, var c. What have I done? Okay, var you have to put before every variable. What is a variable? A variable is, imagine an alterable value in ClickTeam that you've named. That's a variable, and this is no different here. Var stands for it's going to be a variable in JavaScript. Now, you can do it without the var, which makes a global variable, which can, muck up some code elsewhere, especially if you call it C. The var you'll use for 99% of variables you do with JavaScript, and you should only not use it if you know what you're doing. Right, what are we going to do now? So we're going to say document. Document is the super duper parent of everything. Okay, so you say document, oi, you're the parent of everything. Go do something for me. What do we want it to do? Well, we want it to run this function. This function is get element by ID. Okay, get element by ID. So we want it to grab the canvas element. That's why I've called it C for canvas. How does it know what the canvas is called? Well, let's have a look. If I have, three canvases, how does it know I want this one and not that one? Or this one and not that one? Exactly. This is why in HTML we have something called IDs. And this is just ID equals our game. Cool. Well, hey, we know what it is. It's self-aware. Now be careful with IDs. You can only have one our game on this page. So if I did ID of our game below it, that would not work. It would not be happy. It would throw a message of error, or it just wouldn't work properly, or it will just assume the first one's the real our game and the second one's an imposter. But if I did want to have them grouped together, you call it class instead of ID. You can have as many of the same class as you want. IDs are unique. Okay, so let's copy that in, paste that there. Hey, okay, so we've grabbed that canvas. What are we going to do with it? Well, you can't actually do anything with that canvas, anything of interest, okay? What you do stuff with is the context. What is a context? It's not that important. It's essentially the workhorse of the canvas. Context will do everything for us. Context is our friend. Canvas is like, the area, okay, like a dialing code. Context is the actual thing that will do stuff. So we say, all right, context. Okay, I want you to go to the canvas variable we've just named, okay, and I want you to get the context, hence it being called the context. And we want the 2D context. Am I interested in explaining what that means? No, not really. But essentially, we're doing stuff in 2D. Like, if you'll buy that, that's fine. Let's leave it at that. Okay. So we've said to document, which is our super parent, the parent of the page. This is our highest level element. We say, oi, find someone called our game. It finds the our game. That's our canvas element. And then we say, right, canvas element, I want you to get the context and I want you to give it to CTX. Now, I could name this C anything I want. It would work just as well if I wrote Chris there, as long as I wrote it on both instances. That would work just as well. Okay, why have I written C? It's just what everyone does. Always stick with what everyone does. So I'll have this somewhere and I'll copy and paste this into a project. No interest. Now you might think, oh God, this is getting, we haven't actually done it. So if I save this and load it, it doesn't do anything. Refresh, nothing. Waste of time. No, it's not, because now we do everything with the context. What was my minimum viable product for today's video? To draw a line. Let's draw that line. So we say, right, context. What we need to do is I want you to move to, I don't know, the top left, which is 0, 0. I want you to move to the top left. Now, what we're going to be doing is drawing a line. So you imagine context is hovering that pencil over the line. Okay, it's moving to 0, 0. It's not drawing anything at 0, 0. It's just moving there. Okay, context. I want a line to, I don't know, 50, 50. Which is about the chance of me writing a mistake somewhere in this code, which happens all the time. Okay, now you'd think that it has drawn it, but it hasn't, because it doesn't know what type of line. It doesn't want to commit. You've shared your idea, you've shared your plan. You want it to move to 0, 0, which is the top left, and you want it to move to 50, 50, which is diagonally bottom right. Or not bottom right, but down 50 across 50, so like that. But it's not ready to commit. Why? There's a choice of two things, mainly, that you wanted to do. You either wanted to stroke or you wanted to fill. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're asking it to draw a rectangle, which we're not, but if you asked it to draw a rectangle, you either draw the rectangle or you fill in the rectangle, okay? So we want to say, right, context, what we need to do is I want you to stroke. We don't want the fill, we want the stroke. Now, what have all these things got in common? This one, this one, this one, and this one. Well, they have parentheses, but each of them we're passing in information here. Okay, where we wanted to move to, where the line we wanted to draw to. Stroke, we're not interested in any of that, but we still need to show them. The reason being is these are all called functions. They're all doing something. A function has to have parentheses after it. Fascinating. Why do I keep putting semicolons at the end of each line? There's two reasons. The first reason is until recently you had to put them in at the end of every line. And the second reason is that even though now you don't have to put them in, I still would just put them in. I don't know why. I don't know. I miss them out, and it's absolutely happy because you don't need to put them in anymore. I still am not ready to commit to that change. Okay, I've saved that. Now, as I said, it's a 50-50 chance whether this line draws. If it does draw, I'm happy, and we'll move on tomorrow. If it doesn't, then I just cry. Ah, beautiful. So it's gone to 0, 0, and it's gone to 50-50 and drawn that beautiful line. Oh, and that's it. That is all you need to do to draw on a canvas. This bit, as I said in the previous video, you don't actually need this. Let's try. I haven't done this in a while. So if I delete that, and delete that. So obviously we need the canvas and the script. If I save that, I haven't tried this in a while. That does not care. People love that about HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. People love that and hate it at the same time. It's called a loose language. It's not strict at all. Strict languages, it would not like if you misspell anything, it will throw like this massive hissy fit and come up with a big error. And any of your users who are paying you a fortune to use your website, and all they'll see is developer is a moron, big mistake. That would probably not be good. So it's probably just as well it forgives the errors. But a lot of coders don't like that. Anyway, I digress. That is it for today. We've created our canvas and we've created a kind of way of talking to it. And we've talked to it and it's listened and it's done what we've asked it to do. How are we going to make a game out of this? Well... that's tomorrow's. Tomorrow has to be a game, so I'm going to have to really think about it. Let's try and make it simple. Who knows? I'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 7 PM UK time. Thank you.